Salutations. I want to give a thanks out to my Patreon audience. They're the reason that this video is being made. It's keeping me going forward. Thank you very much. Also, a few interesting things have kind of went down. There's a brother named Brother Yosef. He threw a shout out to me on a show that he was on, and it was really cool, the things that he said, and I do appreciate that, and it brought a bunch of new subscribers my way. So thank you very much, Brother Yosef. I appreciate you, and thank you to everybody who came over to my platform from that one. Been very cool, the interactions I've had, so thank you very much. Something I wanted to talk about. Also, I'll be at that event on May 22nd to May 26th in Grafton, Illinois at the Journey to Truth Conference. So that'll be a really good thing. I think it's going down, and I'm honored to be a part of that. Next up, excuse me, what I wanted to talk about is a different type of past life regression that is called lives between lives. And it's one of several different modalities of past life regressions. You've got things such as the past life regression therapy. You've also got another type that's called karmic connections, which will connect things with your life now, with not just people in your life right now, but also skills and abilities. It's pretty interesting. You know, then there's another one called informational regression, informational session, that kind of does more with just gathering the data itself of who you were, things like that. But the past life, the lives between lives is different. What happens between the times you incarnate, you die and incarnate. When I started talking about this, there was a gentleman people mentioned named Michael Newton. I'm not real familiar with him. I just started looking him up now. Looks like he's doing really good work though, and I respect that. A lot of the stuff that I first started seeing this was in not just a workshop, but also Dr. Fiora. She dealt with a lot of this, so I like what she did because she did with a lot of cognitive behavioral, and when dealing with both spirit release and past life regressions, I use a lot of cognitive behavioral. I think that's where it's at. That's what helped me personally after my own accident. So anyway, back to this. Lives between lives. And something that I think is really cool about this, that when done, and this technique, it's not for me to tell you the technique, study it yourself if you're a hypnotist. But anyway, when you do certain progression of the technique itself, automatically the guide shows up. The person's guide or angelic shows up and instructs them. And what has happened in each one of them that I've done, it takes the client to a place that I call the place of translation and reconfiguration. All right, and in this place, it can look like anything. A lot of times it'll be like either a library or an office, something like that. I've even had it be a lake, but the guide will have this a ledger or something that they go over the past life in, or the current life that was just done. And I think, that's really fascinating. The guides, they always announce themselves, who they are, but it's a natural progression of the regression as opposed to the hypnotist suggesting it. Oh, are you seeing your guide yet? No, it's not like that. It just happens naturally. So it says a lot about how things are orchestrated on the other side, and that's real. We're dealing with that, and I think not nearly enough emphasis is put up on that. All right? So anyway, going forward, something I wanted to talk about, all right, and kind of just tie this together, because it goes in the realm of it blew me away. And it's one that I did about a week ago now. And this client is very, very cool. Okay, so this, when the guide shows up, the angelic, whatever this shows up, identifies itself and everything, okay? This guide, as opposed to being a person, like most of them are the ones I've done, they've been always people, a man or a woman. This turns out to be like a Sasquatch, a type of a large Sasquatch that is adorned in some type of uniform, okay? And then it shows itself to also transform itself into a type of like golden energy, orb-like, and then back into the Sasquatch type of thing. And what's really interesting about this is this client has no interest in the Sasquatch thing. That's not where they're coming from, okay? That's not their thing. So that's fascinating that this shows up like that, and then this place of translation and reconfiguration is some type of a craft. A large mother craft that is sitting basically outside outside the space-time continuum and is in view of different universes. And what it does is this place of translation and reconfiguration, opposed to being an office or a library, was this ship, but then this crystalline chamber within it. And that was described very intensely by the client. And at that point, okay, the souls, the life experiences are went over, reviewed, and incorporated as a learning lesson into the spirit. And each one that I've done, all of them, it's been the same thing. Then they get to choose where they reincarnate at. There's a choice there. And for this client, it was the same thing. They had a choice, but this was to reincarnate into which universe. It was absolutely blew me away, okay, in terms of it's just tying something together that I didn't think. And this was a different type of a Sasquatch to begin having the client talking about what the royalty DNA is of, like, for example, humanity is the Adam Kadmon is supposed to be the blueprint of humanity. What is the blueprint for actual Sasquatch when you get to the higher ones, like the ones that have those abilities we're talking about, that DNA, that nuclear DNA, they don't know where it comes from. It's some sort of a star being nuclear DNA. It's what we're talking about here. Now, this ship, and this galactic type of ship that's dealing on a universal level, why I find this so fascinating is that probably a week before this regression, maybe 2 weeks ago now, I did a interview on pork and beans, and it's season 4, episode 6. It's about a 3-hour interview, but pork and beans are two gentlemen. One of them, Michael or Harold, I've known for a while now. He's just communicated with me since I first came forward, and they're coming from definitely the left side, and what people call more the woo side, and the more spiritual side when dealing with Sasquatch. And I found that very refreshing and cool, you know. But Michael, or I don't know which one he is, pork and beans, but Michael, he kept talking about how many Sasquatch type beings are seen on craft, especially in Peru, and the smaller ones are seen on the craft in Peru, but then how you've got another type that are galactic, and a different type of Sasquatch that's on these motherships and things like that we're unfamiliar with. And what came in this regression, lives between lives, was basically the same thing. Very connected. And that's from a client that did not listen to that show, does not have an interest in Sasquatch, but then found out when we first started working together, they had some interactions when they'd been out camping. But they didn't recognize that at first, but now they know why, and how far their interactions go back. So I just think it's very interesting just to take that into consideration and look at these things at what we are, and what we are in the term of scope of immortal souls and immortal spirits, and what we're capable of. It's just different. It's really cool in that way. So I would incorporate that. I'd encourage anyone to try one of these type of regressions. Get a hold of me if you want. I do them by Zoom, you know, BarryLittleton13@gmail.com. I'm not getting spammed out. Anyway, I really appreciate everyone that's come here. Please click the subscribe, click the button, and click it a couple of times to make sure you get the notifications for when I put something out, all right? And a lot of stuff on Patreon. I've been putting out some videos about Sasquatch each week. I'm just kind of putting something out about them because there's a lot on Patreon, but the Sasquatch people, that spirit, has been pushing me to put that stuff out, so I'm just going with it, all right? Thank you very much to all the people that are starting to comment on here. Push the like button, help me beat this shadow banning thing, that algorithm. Much love to all, and peace.